And waiting for this thing to start, and we should be good. We're good over there then? Yeah, okay. Hey everybody, how's it going? Sorry for the late start today. We had a little, not a situation, but we were just helping out one of our friends right now. They kind of needed help. They have a newborn and they were kind of running low on wipes, but that's not important right now. The good thing is they got it and they're fine now. But as always, I like to start the video by saying, I want to thank the essential workers, the doctors, scientists, nurses, janitors, public transportation, truck drivers, just anybody out there, fast food workers, that are doing their thing, trying to make this country, still run and go as smooth as it can. And then for the ones that are quarantined right now, hopefully you guys are taking care of yourself. You guys are, taking care of your body, taking care of the mind, and hopefully everything goes well. And the second we do all our part, the second this all goes over. So again, sorry for the late start. We just had a little business to take care of, but as always, wash your hands before every meal and after every meal, and always carry some hand sanitizer. And the quicker we all do our jobs, the quicker this goes over. So we're gonna do a little speed run today, just the important things, and then we'll try to make this video as smooth as we can. So today we're going to talk about the NFC North. Tomorrow, I actually had it written down here. Tomorrow is the AFC South, so that's going to be a fun one. But today's the NFC North. We're going to start off with the Packers. The Packers did one of the surprise picks in this year's draft, taking Jordan Love at 26. When you look at it, it's kind of ironic because this was around the same age Brett Favre was when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, and now Aaron Rodgers is the same age, around the same age when they drafted Jordan Love, and around the same pick. So, maybe they're trying to strike lightning in a bottle twice. I mean, who knows? But over close to 48 wide receivers were taken in this NFL draft, and the Packers were a team that did not take one. They said, "Forget it." I think Matt LaFleur made his statement very loud and clear that he is going to be a run team first, and passing second. I mean, you could look at it both the two ways. The Packers were a game away from the Super Bowl. They just needed help on the defensive side to stop the run and maybe have a couple more weapons now that the Jimmy Graham experiment's over, and after Devontae Adams, there really isn't a wide receiver on a lockdown for the number 2 spot. So everybody kind of had that feeling that Green Bay was either going to go defense wide receiver, but they actually traded up and they took Jordan Love. Now Jordan Love's a good quarterback by all aspects. He's a good prospect coming out. It's just, a lot of these teams with older quarterbacks, they did a lot to make sure that they have everything to go well for them. Phillip Rivers, they got another wide receiver. Up in Indianapolis, Ben Roethlisberger, they took care of him by getting another wide receiver. Tom Brady, they got they got a lineman for him in Tristan Wirfs. The Breeze, they got a guard center, Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan. So you're looking at these older quarterbacks and how their team is still building around them. The franchise is still building around them, where Aaron Rodgers is looking around saying, what the heck? We're a game away from the Super Bowl, and you draft my replacement down the road? Like, I don't know. I don't know how that went. So, but second round came. They took A.J. Dillon, the running back out of Boston College. Now, he was really a pick where I didn't know he was going to go that high. I knew he was going to get drafted. I just didn't think it was going to be that high. And they already had a running back in Aaron Jones. So I don't know what this whole thing is about, really. It's really weird that A.J. Dillon was picked up in the second round, and, I don't know what the deal is there. So, I mean, good pick, just, maybe a little too high for some. And then third round, they went Josiah DeGuara, the tight end out of Cincinnati. He's more of a blocking H-back tight end. So again, Matt LaFleur has made it clear, running game is going to be the primary focus for the Green Bay Packers. But if that running game should fail and they have to rely on the pass, and Devontae Adams going to get doubled up, it's just, Aaron Rodgers, if the offense starts to, fall back, Aaron Rodgers is going to look around and pretty much say, look, you did this, like you could have drafted a wide receiver, but instead you decided to draft my replacement, which is, that's the thing about the franchises, man. They're always thinking about the future. It's just, you would think you get a little bit more respect with one game away from the Super Bowl. So then they didn't select until the 5th round. Kamal Martin, the linebacker out of Minnesota. Nothing flashy there, just a thumper. He's a good linebacker, instinctive. He's got great vision. His pass coverage can be a little better, but in the 5th round, you get what you get. Then in the 6th round, they went John Runyon, the son of former offensive lineman John Runyon Sr. Now they're getting a guard out of Michigan. Again, he could start, he could be depth, but this is a great pickup in the 6th. And then they stayed in the 6th at 208. Jake Hansen, the center out of Oregon. Now, this kid is unbelievable. He made over 50 starts at Oregon. He took the job as a freshman. He was a starter since his freshman year, and he's been there ever since. So you really got to take a chance on this kid. I mean, there's a reason he was a starter in Oregon, and he went all the way through his senior year to be, the starting center for Oregon. So you got to take a chance on him. And then 6th round again, 209, Simon Stepani, offensive guard out of Indiana. Again, depth, good run blocker, but again, no wide receivers. And you got to think that was a position of need for Green Bay that they just completely passed. 7th round, Vernon Scott, safety out of TCU, special teams ace. He's going to have to really fight his way to get to the 53 because they are set at safety for Green Bay. So, special teams guy. And then with their last 7th rounder, Jonathan Garvin, defensive end, outside linebacker out of Miami. Yeah, he's a pass rush specialist, but that's about it. I mean, he could stop the run here and there, but me being a Miami fan, he's more of a pass rush specialist. So you're going to have to take a chance on him. He really didn't get productive until his senior year, and that's when it showed. So maybe, it's better late than never, and maybe they got to steal at 7th round. Overall, for the Packers, I give this draft class not because of the talent, but because of what they're trying to implement. And right now, I don't know what the future for Aaron Rodgers is, but if Brett Favre is right, it ain't going to be in Green Bay. And if this is the case, thumbs down. You're a game away from the Super Bowl. Beef up the I thought their offseason was going to be beef up the defense, get a wide receiver, take some pressure off Devontae Adams. Not the case. So right now, I got to give it a thumbs down. It's just, I understand, there's going to be a Packer fan out there like, well, they drafted Jordan Love to be the replacement, and knowing the Packers organization, this kid's going to work out too. Okay, we can hope that, but you're not going to know until Aaron Rodgers finally leaves. If he stays with this contract, you're not going to know until the kid's 4th year, 5th year possibly. So you're drafting a player for 5 years from now. A.J. Dillon's a power running back. You probably could have gotten him later. Then you went a blocking tight end instead of a pass catching tight end. I mean, I understand you guys have Jay Sternberger, but he was injured most of the time last year. So overall, I give it a thumbs down. Just not the way I thought the Packers were going to go. Vikings. Now, this is a team who, in most people's case, they won the draft. I mean, and I'm going to explain to you what it means by winning the draft. So with their 1st round pick, 22, Justin Jefferson, wide receiver out of LSU, you got your replacement for Stephon Diggs. Okay, great. Now you got Adam Thielen, Justin Jeffersons, and Bibbs. So that's a good wide receiver core right there. Then you decided to get your replacement for Xavier Rhodes and Jeff Gladney, the tough corner out of TCU. He's going to start. he's going to start, and he's as physical as they come. So I like the pick, and I think that was a great pickup at 31. Then you get into the second, Ezra Cleveland, who had all first-round talents, but because of the depth of the offensive tackle draft class, he fell into the second, and he fell into the Packers. He's going to compete for the left tackle starting spot, or they could move him to right because of Brian Balaga's absence. We'll see. But for a second-round pick, this is a great pickup by them, and I think this was probably one of their best pickups was in Ezra Cleveland. Third rounder, Cameron Dantzler. Again, they went back to corner. Now they got their slot dude. They got Jeff Gladney who could play slot. They got Dantzler who could play second in some packages. So again, this guy had early second to mid second, and they got him in the third. So with their first four picks, starters, possible starter. That's a great one. Then you got DJ Wanum, the defensive end out of South Carolina, which, by the way, another great pickup. He had mid third. He went to the fourth. He's going to be great depth. He's a pass rusher specialist. And now him falling to Mike Zimmer's lap, he loves those long defensive linemen, and that's what he is. Just a long, lanky, in-your-face defensive lineman. So another great pickup. James Lynch, who was the school sack leader for Baylor with 22 sacks. Not the craziest, but again, there's some value there for being the school sack leader for Baylor, 22 sacks in his whole career, another run stopper, and he likes them, like I said, the long, lanky, the long armed, big hand defensive linemen. So, I mean, they just rebuild their defensive linemen just like that with two picks like that. Then they stayed in the fourth 2 picks later. Troy Dye, who was very high on a bunch of people's draft boards. He fell to them in the fourth. Just an instinctive linebacker, tackling machine, can get behind the line of scrimmage, has okay, decent pass coverage skills, but overall, if he pans out, now you got your middle linebacker again for another 7 years that you don't have to worry about if you're the Vikings. Harrison Hand, corner out of Temple. I believe they'll move him to safety to be depth for Harrison Smith and that other safety who I keep forgetting that they just tagged. I keep forgetting his name, but he's really good too. And again, they'll move him to safety. He could be a corner, but I think they're going to like him at safety. Overall, great pickup, special teams ace right here. So now they're building for depth. KJ Osborne. He was on top of the NCAA last year in punt returns with close to 16 punt returns per yards per return. So, it always seemed, KJ Osborne out of Miami, it always seemed when you needed 5, he'll get you 8. You need 8, he'll get you 12. If you need a long run, he'll get you those yardage. That's what he is, a great punt returner. And for him to fall to the Vikings in 5th, I think that's a great pickup. Blake Brandell, offensive tackle, more depth. John Metellus, safety out of Michigan, more depth. This 7th round kid, Kenny Willekes, he was supposed to be 4th, 5th, but he fell to the 7th. Again, he's the school leader for Michigan State for tackles for losses, 51. So he started as a freshman, came out as a senior, and he ended up leaving the school as the all-time leader for school for tackles for losses behind the line of scrimmage with 51. So, you got to take a chance on those kids like that. When they can do something like that at a school like that, you got to take a chance. Then the other 7th round pick, Nate Stanley, quarterback out of Iowa. I don't know. We'll see. But, what he makes up for, what he lacks in accuracy and, just vision, he does make up with his arm strength. He doesn't have a lot of mobility. He can move some. The only negative, he's never completed anything over 60% his whole career in Iowa. So, but with the arm strength, in today's NFL, it's all about the deep pass. And if you think he could be somebody, then hey, take him. He was a comp pick anyway, so if they decide to cut him, no harm there. Brian Cole, safety out of Mississippi State. Again, depth, special teams ace. You always got to build your special teams. Remember, these guys at the later rounds are going to be fighting for special teams placement. And when you get guys like this who already excelled in college, chances are they're going to excel in the NFL. So, I like the pick. And then Kyle Hinton, the guard out of Washburn. Very small school, very not well known, but with his power and his 10-yard split being one of the best at the combine, why not? I mean, worst that could happen, practice squad, and who knows? Maybe he'll surprise a couple people. So the Vikings overall, I got to give it a thumbs up, man. They took care of their needs. They went everywhere where they needed to go, and they got players who look like they can play today. When you look at it from the Justin Jefferson all the way to Troy Dye, you know, those guys could probably be starting for Minnesota next year. It's going to be hard, but there's a good chance that those guys could start. And this is a team that needed a great draft. They got their weapons, they got the defense revamped. Now it's just, put it in all together and we'll see what happens. This could be a sneaky team who could win the NFC North. So that's something to watch out for. So here we go. Moving on to the Bears. So remember, they didn't have a first round pick because they did trade that away for Khalil Mack to the Raiders. So their first pick wasn't until the second round at pick 43. They took the first tight end off the board and Cole Kemet, the tight end out of Notre Dame. As I mentioned, the tight end draft class wasn't very strong, but he was the best one out there, even though he only had 60 receptions for 661 yards and 7 touchdowns. So it's good. It's just we'll see what happens. And I think this kid's going to be good. I think if put in the right situation, depending on the quarterback situation as well, because a lot of people are forgetting it's going to be Mitchell Trubisky versus Nick Foles, and we just recently learned they did not pick up the 5th-year option for Mitchell Trubisky, so more than likely this is his last year to prove it. If he goes in, falls flat, Nick Foles starts, then the Mitchell Trubisky era will more than likely be over, and the Bears are going to have to really rethink this because they're going to be the team that is known that they passed up on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Like, I know that's a broken record for my family and friends that are Chicago Bear fans, but this is, the bed that you got to live with. In my situation, we could have had Calvin Johnson. We took Jamarcus Russell. The draft is a crapshoot, everybody. It happens, but they're just going to be the team that passed up on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. So then second round, they got a good pick here. Jalen Johnson, the cornerback out of Utah. He was a late riser. Some people going him in the first, but due to injuries, he kind of fell to the second. But again, good press man corner. He's got the height. He's got the speed. So we'll see how it works out over there for Chicago. I think, as I mentioned, anytime you take a player from Utah, you know what you're getting. You're getting a tough defensive-minded player from Utah. You're getting a great football player. Because the Pac-12 isn't really known that well, especially unless you live on the west coast of it. But Jalen Johnson and that whole Utah defense was the best unit of the Pac-12, and they've been like that for the last, I would say 3 out of the 4 years. So Jalen Johnson, great pickup there. Then they went Travis Gibson, the defensive end outside linebacker out of Tulsa. More of a pass rush specialist. I think what it is, it's, in certain when it's like 3rd and long, because remember, Chicago still has a great defense. So 3rd and long, I can see him coming in, making a couple plays. So, I think that was a good pickup there. In the 5th round, I should say, 155. They didn't pick again. They only had 2 twos, and then they pick again into the 5th. Then at their second 5th rounder, 163, Kendall Vildor, the cornerback out of Georgia Southern. This was kind of a head scratcher to many because a lot of people thought he was going to be an undrafted free agent, but every team loves a guy regardless of what people say, and this is their guy. They fell in love with this guy. They see that he's got something, and we'll see. We'll see what happens, and if they prove to be right, then they got to steal in the 5th. Darnell Mooney with 5th-round pick 173, wide receiver out of Tulane. Punt return, kick returner, special teams ace, and we'll see how it goes. One of their weakness for the Bears last year was special teams, and I think he will help out in the punt game more than anything. Then in the 7th round, 226, Arlington Hamsbright, offensive lineman, Colorado. He's a versatile lineman. You could put him at left tackle, right guard. He's just versatile like that. So I think at this point, it's just more for depth. So we'll see what happens there. Overall, he had a good career at Colorado. He won, the MAC conference, the offensive lineman of the week a couple times during his junior year. Senior year, he kind of took a dip, but he's a versatile lineman. You could put him anywhere, and that's always the great thing about these guys. It's, the more you can do, the better chances you have of making the team. So, seventh rounder, you got to take a chance on that. And with their last pick, the next pick after 227, they stayed offensive lineman, Latavius Simmons, offensive tackle, Tennessee State. I could see him being a practice squad guy, really, mold him up. Because right now, what he is, he kind of reminds me of, Menelik Watson. He's kind of like clay right now, but you can mold him to what you want him to be. And I think, practice squad and just buff him up, and we'll see what he's got. But overall, for the Bears, I got to go. I think what killed them, they didn't have one first. They only picked twice in the early rounds and second. They didn't pick again in the fifth. Again, I gotta go thumbs down. Tight end was a need, but I guess if it's a need, you go high. But Cole Kmet, regarded as the best tight end, a lot of people had other options. Jalen Johnson's probably your best pickup here. After that, it's just depth, and you're hoping for the best. So, we'll see. We'll see. I thought they were going to go more offense than this, but we'll see. There's no point. There's nothing to tell right now other than it's just a wait and see. But for right now, I got to give the Bears a thumbs down. Then we hit to the Lions. First round pick, third pick, Jeff Okudah, the best corner in the draft. That's an easy one. Great pick. DeAndre Swift, first round talent. They got him in the second. Great pick there. Running back out of Georgia. Third round, pick 67. Julian Okwara, defensive end out of Notre Dame. He had first round talent, possibly early second. Falls to them in the third. Great pick. Then Jonah Jackson again in the third round, pick 75, offensive guard out of Ohio State. Anytime you get a lineman from Ohio State, it usually works out. So I don't see any different here. So great pick there. Fourth round, they stayed with the offensive guard. Logan Stenberg, offensive guard out of Kentucky. He could be a center. He could be guard. He's versatile like that. And, with players like this, you want to take a chance because you always need a backup center just in case your guy goes down. Great pick here. Fifth round, Quintus Cephas, the wide receiver out of Wisconsin. Again, these guys are probably going to try to find a way to utilize him as a weapon, whether that's punt return, kick return, special teams, but he will make the team. Jason Huntley staying in the fifth round, running back out of New Mexico State. He's going to be the backup now. He's the backup to DeAndre Swift. So overall, good hands in a passing situations. He's got the hands, and he's a decent pass blocker. So overall, another solid pickup there. Sixth round, pick 197. Jen Panisi, the defensive tackle out of Utah. He played next to Futu, the defensive tackle out of Utah, and they did great things together. I see him coming in as a depth player, but maybe he could take us a couple snaps, and we'll see. But overall, great pickup here. Seventh rounder, 235. Jashon Cornell, the defensive tackle out of Ohio State. And again, defensive linemen for Ohio State have been getting pretty lucky these last few years. We'll see how this one goes. Maybe he's just another good guy that kind of fell and has some luck. Overall, for the Lions, I got to give them a thumbs up. They could have gone any other way. Obviously, wide receiver was a need, but when you can walk away with 3 starters, possibly 4, with your first 4 picks, that's a great draft right there. You can always get wide receiver in free agency, whatever's left. However, to get the best corner, best running back, one of the better defensive ends, and one of the best offensive guards coming out of college, you killed the draft. So I give him a thumbs up. So Other than that, that'll be it for today. As I mentioned earlier, tomorrow it is the AFC South. So tomorrow we have the Texans, the Titans, the Colts, and the Jaguars. So this is going to be pretty interesting. This is going to be pretty good to see. And hopefully you guys join. Again, I'm sorry for the late start. We just had to help out one of our friends real quick. And, we'll try to do a little bit earlier tomorrow. So you all have a wonderful night. And hopefully you guys tune in for the AFC South tomorrow.